Welcome, everybody, to the Mission United podcast, Battlefront to Homefront. I'm your co-host, Scott Jones, along with Sean McPhee from Mission United themselves. And first of all, Sean, how you been, man? It's been a month. A month has gone by. It seems like it was yesterday we were doing a show.
It does. And things are constantly, moving and shaking in the community. And we're constantly hosting, different events. It's been fantastic. So, despite, everything that's going on in the government, we're still hard charging and do what we need to help the community out. So,
and getting support from companies and private support and all that stuff is more important now than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the instability of grants and appropriations right now.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the good things about Mission United itself. I mean, it's not a department of United Way. It's an initiative. It's a drive that they have. So we're constantly supported by companies that have been longstanding, supporters of veteran programs and a lot of philanthropists that, and the greatest part is the donations that we get. Like our next one that's big that's coming up next month is, losing track of months. So this month is the preparing the backpack drive for school. Even though it's a few months away, we're still preparing that. And we have community partners that are putting on backpack drives, specifically sponsoring us.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't ask for a better community to support, families, veterans. It's really great.
Yeah, and a lot of programs like this, whether it's the backpack drive or anything else, a lot of people think, oh, it's a 1 week event. They're giving out backpacks and stuff. No, but there's months of work that goes into every one of those things and a whole slew of people, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like everything else that goes on, it's like the day after we start for next year. Like we have in the month of May, we have a mental health behavioral conference that we hold at our Broward Community Conference Center.
Right.
As the day after, we're already planning for next year. We're already trying to get ahead. We're trying to. It's a lot of moving.
It's like
parts.
The Oscars, man.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, like our whole backpack drive, our Thanksgiving drive, our holiday drive, those things, months in advance. We're already working on those ahead. Logistics, who, where. How are we going to distribute it? What worked last year? What did work so that, when people show up, it's a smooth operation.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's assume, because we want to talk about education today, but before we get to that, I just want to make sure that every once in a while we do this, and maybe somebody's watching for one of the first times or for the first time today. In a nutshell, what is the Mission United initiative? What is it that Mission United does?
Originally, its first initiative was to provide housing for homeless veterans or those at high risk of becoming homeless. The drive is to make sure veterans and their families can overcome whatever obstacles to be part of a member of a community or, whatever society, whatever need in order for them to function.
Now, you said initially. That's what the initial mission, has that grown and expanded over time?
Oh, yeah. Because originally Mission United full focus was on homeless veterans getting into some stable housing.
Right.
Now it's moved on to what they call 6 pillars or 6 areas. So it's expanded and we're constantly growing. Matter of fact, about a year and a half ago, we purchased property from the city of Pompano Beach. Now we have a housing director. We have people, property managers.
Yeah.
And we opened another 15 units in Hollywood. So we have another property. We're constantly expanding our different needs depending on, we don't sit still. So we have to evolve in order to, so what is it now that we need to participate in? We have these 6 general areas, but that doesn't mean that's all we cover, so we're always looking outside those spectrums of like, okay, so mental health finally, after so many years, has now become a forefront of the public knowledge of like, people aren't crazy.
Right. Yeah.
People are, sometimes it's not, it's something brain chemistry wise. So it's nice. And now we can provide those additional supports that weren't originally, even though it's not typically in our 6 pillars, but it is what we look at now. We try to move forward in those areas.
And you're not, I just want to make this really clear. You're not just saying, oh, there's a vet, they're in trouble, let's give them a house. That's not,
No,
I mean, that's like such an oversimplification, and it's not even accurate.
no.
You're not giving them a forever home. You're creating a transition point for them and helping them to do that transition, right?
Yeah. We never give handouts. That's nothing is even though we say it's at no cost, but nothing ever is just free. It has to be a collaboration with the veteran and their family. They have to put in just as much effort as we put in, because we
Right.
can't do all the work. If they truly had the desire to get off the street into some place, we'll give them a place, and then we'll help them, educate them. We'll work with them, but they have to put in just as much energy into it as we are. And if they're not, then, hey, we'll send you to somebody else, because we're not going to do all the work. If you want to help yourself, we can't be the one doing all the work.
So if there is a desire to
Mhm.
step up and to do what I must to help myself, then money and things like that aren't the roadblocks that you're concerned with.
No.
You want to make sure that they can still get moving if they have that desire. Now, what happens if they don't? I'm sure you come across this every once in a while. Do you refer these to other services then, or
Yes.
or you don't just walk away and say, you know what, if you don't want it, I can't help you. You find other ways to help.
Yeah. Like say we'll take our transitional housing, that we have. They can stay up to 6 months rent free, but it's temporary transitional housing. It's not
Yeah.
forever. It's 6 months, and in that 6 months, they have to we have to work with us getting a house. Not house. They got to get their own place. Employment. They have to put that effort in. Do we ever evict anybody? I would have to say, I think not, but we would have to kind of like, sorry, it's not working out, unless there's some reason why we would have to call the cops or,
Right, no.
but for most, we would have to refer them to another program, say, like, listen, unfortunately, these are our rules, and you don't want to follow these rules. We're going to have to, and we don't just, hey, open a door and send them out. We're going to work with them to transition them to somebody else.
Sean, that's exactly the point I was trying to make, was that, whereas some people, if you don't fit into our program, we can't help you. You say, hey, listen, if you're not a good fit for our program, what we're doing, but we work with so many other people,
Mhm.
we're going to find a service for
Yes,
you.
we will.
So it's the kind of thing where some of your work is actually working to do things outside of your work.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's-
one of the things that's great about Miss United that we work with. Yeah, we do have, some quotas that are a requirement for
Sure.
from the grant, but at the end of the day, we don't care who gets credit. But that's the biggest thing. We're not looking to go, hey, look what we did. We don't care
Mhm.
about that. So we have no problem working with our community partners in any aspect of different fields. So like whoever, if we can't provide that direct support, we are going to find somebody. We just don't go, here's a phone number.
Right.
We will do all the work, and then we will make it happen where the two of you meet. We're like, okay, so I'm going to give you hang out for like 10 minutes. I'm going to call a bunch of people. Let me see who works. And they're like, okay, so, and then, that's how we work together. We're a community partner. Let's work. I'm not just going to, here's the phone, try to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that you get to where you need to be.
Well, this is not a one size fits all kind of world.
No.
When you're dealing with this. A lot of people might think it's a veteran, he's homeless, so he must be an alcoholic, or he must be crazy, or this must be going on, or that. And I'm even saying the word he, but there are homeless veterans, females as well.
Yes.
Certainly the males are a larger part of the population, but
Yeah.
there's also that. So every time you come across somebody, their reasons for being in their circumstance can be much and varied.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many different, sometimes it's just bad luck too. Every once in a while, you got somebody who did everything right and stuff still happens. So is that important on understanding how to help people, is understanding how they got where they got?
Yeah, because our programs are not cookie cutter. It's
Right.
just so we evaluate every single veteran individually. We don't judge. People make choices. They happen. A perfect example. Of course, I can't mention names.
No,
I met
of course
a
not.
gentleman.
We'll just call everybody Bob.
A couple weeks ago. Doesn't have much of a disability claim, despite submitting revaluations, but he lost his job. but he has a disability rating. But some of the stuff that he got, because a lot of people don't understand, is the VA can help you with anything that's related to your military service at no cost. But anything else, so if you're being seen at the VA for something that happened to you that outside of related to the military, you have to pay a copay. You have to have insurance for that.
Right.
So he became injured. That's separate. So he's out of work. He's sustained an injury that makes him hard to work. He doesn't have a very high disability rating, which he doesn't get that much money. He's homeless. And it's like, it has nothing to do with alcohol, drugs, or mental health issues. It's the fact that physically he was injured and now he can't work. And because it's not related to his military service, all that combined together, now what? So now we have to try to figure out where we can get a job that's willing to, work around his, current disability issues,
right,
and, try to find a place that's suitable for him to live in, so that's a lot of big stigma around homeless people is they're all crazy or they're drug or alcohol. It's not the way it is. It's just, sometimes it's financial issues. It's, or, they made a wrong choice, or pyramid schemes, they've been there. People lose their money, especially some of our older vets.
I'm going to tell you right now, look around your office, take a break for a moment from the show. Look around your office. You're going to find people with addiction problems, people with mental health issues and all that right in the cubicle next to you. So it's this is not reserved just for the homeless. These issues, we all have them, but somehow it gets stigmatized.
Yes, it does.
How much does the stigma of, I got to stand up and ask for help, I got to say that I'm homeless out loud, how much does that hamper people actually getting help?
Well, that's the biggest problem somebody asked me today, is that particularly for veterans themselves, is we're warriors. We're trained to be warriors. We're trained to do things that would give other people nightmares, or trained to do stuff that would have somebody shaking in their boots.
Yeah.
Asking for help sometimes is very difficult for veterans to do so, is because I'm a warrior. I don't need a help. I'm supposed to help you because that's what we're supposed to do. But so it's very difficult to get, veterans, especially particularly those who are older generation, because that's what they're used to. I'm the breadwinner, or I'm the man of the house, or, I'm in charge. You're like, I need to get these, I don't need help. I need to help you. And so sometimes it can be very difficult to overcome some of those. And a lot of homeless people in general, because of those stigma, people tend to avoid them or shy away instead of asking them what is it they need.
Yes.
They automatically assume because you see somebody's homeless, that they're scary. They're going to hurt me. They're a drug addict. Unfortunately, it's a small population. It does happen, but they're not all like that.
Let me ask you a question, because we want to talk about education. And I hope some of this helped you guys understand about Mission United and what they're doing. And if you want more information, go to unitedwaybroward.org/Mission United. It's right there on the screen. Please go in and learn more about this stuff. It's amazing. But we're going to be talking about education. Let me educate people on one fact.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait until you lose everything to get help.
Correct.
I think that's one of the things we see happening too. There were probably 20 different points when somebody who has ended up on the streets saw it coming, but they never stopped and said, I wonder if somebody can help me so I can avoid this. That would be a nice thing to get out there, right?
Yeah. My previous employment, when I used to help veterans find employment, that used to be one of the things I used to tell them at the end is, listen, if there's a hair that goes up on the back of your neck that thinks things are going to go south, if you think that you're not going to be able to pay rent, it doesn't matter. Even if it's not going to happen, if you even have an inkling that everything's going to go left and you're going to, end up, give me a call. Calling me at 5:00 on Friday, letting me know that you've already been thrown out is very difficult for me, which means my resources might change. But if you call me on a Monday and say, hey, listen, I think I may, there's a possibility I could lose my housing. Let's get started now. And then Friday, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But at least we were ahead of the curve.
Right.
You don't have to be in extreme situations to reach out to any community partner, regardless whether if you even feel like there's something, call 211, talk to the counselor on the community resources and say, I don't know, but it's a possibility. So it's better for them to start the paperwork now and not need it than calling them after the fact and having them scramble and leave you in out hanging out to dry until they're able to fix it. So that is one thing to always try to educate people is even like I said, it's not hypochondriac. If you think something's going to go wrong, it's better to be safe than sorry and then be ahead of it and then wait till the last second going, oh, now what?
Well, let's go back to our childhood there, my friend. When Evel Knievel jumped the cars, he never sat down and said, I'm going to crash. He said, I might. So I'm going to have an ambulance ready and I'm going to know where the hospital is. And let's pray I don't need them, but it's good to have that lined up. So if you do feel things are going south for you, for our veterans out there, things are getting difficult, call and ask. You're not even asking for help. You're asking for information.
Yes.
Listen, this might happen. Are there things I should do now? Or how about if it does, what do I do then?
Correct.
Stop waiting until you're out. It's really hard to place good, healthy private phone calls when you don't have a roof over your head, right?
Yes. It's always that because you're in a different mindset, but it's always better. Remember in doubt, 211, dial 211
Yeah.
and talk to the person and tell them I'm a veteran. I want to talk to somebody. They'll connect and just tell them what may or may not possibly coming down the road. And then they'll walk you through on what to do just if it does happen. So it's better to be prepared until after, and then things might not go as quickly because, everybody has to scramble, figure it out, sometimes not be right available, but being ahead of the curve and saying, hey, just in case, what would I do? And it's better to be prepared.
Now you're meeting so many veterans, some of the finest men and women that we have are veterans. You're meeting so many of them at that point now where it's like they haven't exhausted things as much as they've reached the end of their rope. They're out and they're hungry, they're homeless, or they're dealing with health issues or whatever it might be, all those things combined. Are there a lot of people out there that end up in that position that didn't have to, but they didn't know what was available to them to avoid it? I mean, we're always talking about there's programs that people don't know exist.
Yep.
If we're going to talk about education, we got to start there. How do you educate them to know what's available to them?
No, that's the difficult part. But I currently do not sit hand in hand with the vets for Mission United. But from my previous role, there were quite a few individuals that I did work with that it was preventable. Had they had said something sooner to somebody, they could have prevented the issues from happening. They could have got out in front of it. They could have, if they'd mentioned something, but waiting until they were like knee deep in trouble, that's when they come and like, well, okay, I don't know, but I'll try my best, but it won't be quick.
Yeah.
But, maybe a little delay. But I mean, we actually, because the reputation that we build within Broward County, Miami, even Palm Beach, our communities, that we actually have an opportunity to meet quite a few vets before they get in that situation. We actually have met quite a few of them that aren't quite there yet. And so we're able to help mitigate that so that they don't end up in that spot, that we can transition from one issue back on track.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've had quite a few vets that unfortunately waited too late, and then, things went wrong, and then they came to us for help. But like I said, lucky enough for us, we have so many wonderful community partners that are able to work together that we can prevent these things from happening. They call us, like if they're in an inpatient someplace, we have quite a few who like, hey, listen, this person's got another week to go. Can we start, plus also we work with the correctional, group, as well as trying to help the veterans before they leave whatever incarceration they're in. So we're always, that's one things we're always trying to drive for, is get ahead before they're finished whatever they're at, so that we can make sure that they don't end out on the street, that we can help them transition from point A to point B with no issues.
It's kind of that old thought. It's easier to find a job when you have a job.
Yep.
Don't wait until you don't have a job, because then you become desperate, and desperation rarely is a good starting point for anything. Maybe to put this in terms that our listeners can understand, who aren't military or haven't dealt with this kind of thing. If your electric bill is due on Friday and you call them on Wednesday or Thursday and say, listen, can I set up some sort of plan? I cannot make the payment tomorrow, but I need some help. Can I set, you could do that. But if you if you don't say anything, wait until the power's turned off, and then you call them and say, I'd like to set up a plan. First of all, you're calling them from no power, and they are not as quick to work with you. So it's so much easier to get things done ahead of time. Like I said, we want to talk about education. You talk about Mission United's purpose is to get them into a housing situation, transitional, get them back on their feet, so to speak.
Yes.
How big is educating them a part of that?
It's a huge part. It's a lot of, you got to also figure too, is especially you think about our older generation veteran, a lot of those men and women joined when they were 18. They didn't have the opportunity. Some of them got out before they even joined, when they were 17, before they even finished high school.
Yeah.
So there's so much that they could be doing more with an education that they can expand what they are. And even our younger generation, they go, like, you spend 4 years in the service, not everybody has an opportunity to do college. I was lucky enough that when I was in, I had an opportunity I was at a desk job that gave me the ability to obtain a degree.
Right.
But not everybody has that opportunity. And then you're out. It's great that you have all these skill sets, you have all this stuff, but a lot of them, sometimes it requires an education. It requires a degree or a certification, because it's not just associate's or degree, but it's a certification. Yeah, you did all this stuff in a minute, but you need a license to go with it.
Right.
But sometimes that can be a little difficult. People, when you're in, depending on when you join, you're not thinking 40, 50 years down the road. You're thinking, hey, I'm going to do my 4 years, and then when you get out, it's not what you thought it was. So
I mean, there's a lot of programs in the military where you can get an education, where you could do, the old GI Bills and things like. There's all sorts of there are opportunities, but not everybody takes advantage of those. Mm-hmm. And some people think, well, I don't need that, or that's not my cup of tea. I'd rather just. But now they're coming out, and even though the skills are very valuable, and thank God they don't translate well without adding some. Basically, I guess better, for lack of a better term, civilian education, so you can know how to use those things. But it's not just about being able to get a job. It's about confidence and kind of reconnecting yourself with new skills that work in the civilian world, right?
Yeah, because, there's different aspects of the way technology advances.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the technology we have in the military does outdistance the civilian side, but there's other stuff that outdistance. Like, for instance, my job in the Navy was, I was a ship navigator. Civilian forces were using digital technology to navigate from point A to point B, while I was still using paper maps, charts. Because
up on the bow of the boat with your sextant trying to figure out where the hell I get it. Yeah.
I actually did use a sextant. So I used to navigate early in my career using the stars, but while we were still using, old technology, the civilian, like cruise liners and all that stuff, were using electronics. They weren't using paper. So, but there are different aspects of the stuff, but just some of the stuff that we may learn in the military, by the time you get out, because especially we're talking about computer technology is moving so fast, even our medical field is moving so quick. You may have up to date, but then after you get out, you might get left in the dust if you wait too long.
Right.
So because some people get out and say, hey, I'm not going to work. I've met so many military people that took their last year, they took a year off before they went back to work. That 12 months, you could be left in the dust by decades because you waited 12 months to get back in your field. So sometimes, and unfortunately, some jobs require a degree. Some of them require a certification. Now, the good thing about it is a lot of institutions do take your military career and translate that into credits. Like when I went for my bachelor's degree, when I first started out for my associate's degree, they took all the training and education that the military had given to me. Basically, to get my associate's degree, I only had to take one class.
But again, a lot of people might not know that that's an option for them, or know which universities or which colleges to go to for that, because not all of them would do it. So let me give you a scenario. Okay. Yeah. Bob has been homeless now for about 6 months, or let's say, And the reason is because he got out of the service, and Bob did a lot of mechanical work, like working on tanks and armored trucks, and just doing that. But doesn't have any of his certifications to work on automobiles in America and this and that. Had a hard time finding a job, all sorts of other issues, let's say. Now he's homeless and he wants to be a mechanic. He wants to be useful again. How can Mission United help him when you meet Bob and he's no job? He's got some experience in mechanical stuff, and he's homeless. What would be a setup that you might do?
Well, of course, the first thing we have to battle is the homeless, housing.
Of course.
Once that's taken care of, is one of our case managers would sit down with them and go, okay, so let's talk about your history, what you know, and what route do you want to go? What does that look like you? And then what we'll do is we'll partner with our community partners like Career Source, which is an American Job Center that has the grants for that. We can work them through that. Or if they have their VA benefits, a lot of people think that the VA benefits are only for a college degree. You can actually use them for certifications. You can actually use them for tech schools. It doesn't have to be a university or college. There's a misconception about educational benefits that, I don't want to spend 4 years in sitting in a classroom. I want to go. I need a license. They don't realize that you can actually use those benefits to get technical school or your license. You don't have to go to college for that.
This is the amazing thing is that you've got all of this knowledge, Mission United, and although your purpose is really helping them in a very specific direction, there's so much more that you give them.
Yeah.
Is that something? I mean, I know that you do some work with the veterans, but you got a lot of people that are out there doing the actual hands-on work. Is that something you guys talk about at Mission United about? I can't believe the difference in Bob. I can't believe. Is that something you guys celebrate as a team? Like this is
all the time. Every time we get together, we talk about success. What are we working on? And those are things we constantly highlight. We're constantly, one of my coworkers who is in the education department went far and above to help a veteran out. We talk about that. What brought you to do that? What motivated you? We want to, we collaborate and share on that, and like, hey, that's great. We're constantly patting each other on the back. We're always saying, like, hey, we're always here to provide support, for each and other, because and then we talk to each other. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, I still communicate with the people in my last job who are veterans. We still talk. If I know something that they're unfamiliar, they'll call and ask me, and vice versa. I'll call. It doesn't matter if I've been doing this 2 years and you've been doing it 10. We ask each other questions all the time. Hey, I met a vet. And we'll collaborate on it. That's one thing I always tell, all the community partners. If you come across a vet you don't know, or call us. We may not know the answer, but what we're going to do is we're going to get together and we're going to hammer it out, and we're going to come up with some kind of solution or some answer, one way or the other. We're going to figure this out together as a group, because we're not just going to say, hey, shoot from the hip. We're going to give you solid answers. What is the next step? Because I might be doing all this thing and think I know, and I could talk to one of my veteran coworkers. No. I found out about this.
Right.
Because I constantly share whatever comes across. When I learn something new, that's the first thing I do is I send it out to the group. Hey, I just learned about this. So yeah, we're constantly sharing information between each other about what's going on, and and milestones, and we even cheer on the veterans that we have. Like, hey, because you never know. Because someone, like I said, I've said in the past, we had a gentleman that was homeless, and we helped him get back on his feet. And now he's part of another nonprofit who's providing us support. He works for another, I forgot what the nonprofit is because it's been about a year since I last talked to him, but he works for another nonprofit who dry throat, who supports us. So it's always a win-win. It's supposed to be. A lot of the vets we typically help try to find some way to give back to what exactly that we did to help them, that they try to pay it forward.
How incredible that you have a job where your only success isn't elevating Sean. Your success isn't conquering the world or making tons of money. Although I hope you get enough, and that's good.
I do all right.
We all want to eat, okay? But your success is predicated on the success of the people that you're helping.
Yeah.
That's your win. Your win isn't that, oh, look how wonderful Sean is. Your win is, holy cow, Bob's life changed.
Oh,
That is so cool to be a part of that. And it's part of the nonprofit world, but more specifically with United Way and the Mission United initiative.
yeah,
It's all about the success of the individuals that you are helping.
yeah, that's one of the things I really loved about coming to work for Mission United is if we can just help one person, it doesn't matter who it is,
Yeah.
but if we can just help one person, it's a win. We're not thinking about like numbers. Anytime vets come in or and their family members, we're not thinking, well, God, I got to help 10 people today. I got to just help one. If I can just help one, anything beyond that, that's extra.
Yeah.
So that's all we're trying every day is like it. Even when I talk to the community partners and people that we're collaborating with, is we could just help one person. My kids don't. My wife hates when I use these words. I look forward to the day that puts me out of a job. That we help so many people that eventually I'm no longer needed.
Right.
That'll be long after I'm dust, but you do hope for that one day that we provide so much help that nobody ever needs us anymore. But,
absolutely. And working in addictions and mental health, I feel the same way. And when I meet somebody, as much as I may fall in love with them as a human being and want to see them do well, I also never want to see them again. I want them out living their world, living their life, and moving on while I move on to the next person. So yeah, we want to see that kind of success and stuff. And I want people to go check it out. Once again, UnitedWayBroward.org/Mission United. We've come to the end of the show. I hope people learned a little bit about what's going on with Mission United. And more importantly, next time that you see somebody who's down and out, be careful not to judge too quickly, because you don't know their circumstance. You don't know their path to get there. And it is highly likely this is somebody who deserves your respect and admiration too, right?
Yeah. Every New Year's, I'm always been asked, like, what's my, thing for the year?
Yeah.
I tell them, like, I've had the same one for the last 10 years. In the Jewish, they call it a good mitzvah. I go out of my way to try to do one good deed at least a week, if not a day. Helping somebody, something as simple. You never know. I helped. It was raining. I was in Publix parking lot, and there was an older lady who was trying to get the stuff from her cart into her car. I helped her out. Who knows? That could be the defining moment of her day or her week. You never know. Like I said, just never. When you look at these homeless people, particularly our vets, all I ask is the stigma. Don't think about the stigma. Think about, like, you don't know how this person ended up here. You don't know that. Not every homeless person on the street is a drug addict or crazy or have some kind of addiction of some kind or other. It's just life happened, and either they made wrong choices and that's how they ended up there. Just don't assume that that's the way they are. A kind word, or, I'm not, saying give them money, but don't be rude. Be nice. I mean, the other day I did it about last month, so that we had an outing where we were sponsoring a Memorial Day run. When we were done, I had so much left over. There was an older homeless guy. I gave him a couple bottles of cold water.
Right.
He didn't ask for me. He didn't come up and bug me. I gave because I knew it was hot and he looked like he needed the water. So maybe that would be the highlight of his week. I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that it was a good deed, and I wanted to make sure that he was taken care of.
I'll tell you, it's a responsibility that we all have to be kind to our fellow humans, and I wish we'd see a little bit more of that. But thank God we've got organizations like United Way, Mission United, and all the other. You could list. I mean, because I know we've talked about it. Now I'm coughing too.
Yeah.
You could probably list, and we could sit here for 6 hours while you list the organizations you've worked with over the years and the caring people out there There's a lot of good people and a lot of great services. Please, if you don't know if you qualify or if somebody that you love could get help, call and ask. You never know, right?
Yeah, you never know. And volunteer.
Oh,
You'd be
yeah.
surprised. One of the most common things when I was helping veterans find work, I used to tell them is volunteer. Do volunteer work. If you're looking for employment and you're a veteran, particularly, or if you're looking for, do volunteers, because not everybody you're volunteering with is another Joe Smo.
Yeah.
I've actually, swear to God, I have sent veterans out and have done, and they came back and they met the CEO of a company, and next thing I know, 2 weeks later, they're working because they met out doing phone, because supervisors, hiring agents, HR, they volunteer. They're just like everybody else. Do some volunteer work, give back. Sometimes you'd be surprised, even as a community partner, if you're looking to connect with other community partners on how to support your community, do a little bit of volunteer work. You'd be surprised who you meet.
Absolutely. Sean, thanks a lot, brother. Good to see you again.
Definitely.
We'll be back next month with more of this show. But in the meantime, please like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and certainly share this with your friends. Leave your comments. Thanks for joining us. For Sean McPhee, I'm Scott Jones with Mission United Podcast, Battlefront to Homefront. Make sure you check us out each month. And don't forget to go to unitedwaybroward.org/Mission United to find out about all the services they have. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye now.